All right, hey everybody, welcome back to Tabletop Business Masterminds. Today I am joined by Alex. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me.
Sweet. So Alex, just get us started. Go ahead and tell us what you're working on, how you got
hmm
where you are, and then what is it that we're trying to build toward.
Okay, so I've been playing tabletop role playing games for the past 9 years. Started with D&D, like a lot of people. I'm very anti D&D nowadays. I've
Mhm.
been I've been running games for the past 5 years. I recently joined Start Playing Games, running games professionally online. And besides that, I've been going to Gen Cons. In my third year, I went to a couple other conventions, and I've worked on a couple projects, and I'm working on a bunch of other ones. Yeah, do you want me to list them or what's best?
Let's just pivot right from there into
Okay.
so you got a lot that you're kind of shuffling around. You've experienced a lot in the
Yes.
community. What is it that, as you're building all of these things, what's
Mhm.
like the center point? What's the focus? Or do you not have a focus? Are you just kind of, trying a lot of things and finding, your feet?
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of exploratory stuff. I my goal is to I've one of my goals is to make a living in this industry.
Mhm.
Um and another grand goal would be to disrupt the market, like D&D's partial monopoly, and make mark like I think marketing is a big big issue
Mhm.
in the industry, and so is monetization. Um, yes.
Awesome. All right. So, what is it that's kind of on your mind? Is it that you don't know what to focus in on, or you want some insights on like what to build up, how to build up, just kind of like how can I help out?
Yeah, so I'm curious about your perspective on like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
First of all, I guess is I don't think you can beat D&D at being D&D. So
Hmm.
I think a lot of what's been working is people making other IPs, other think like branching out more and in a way that stands out and finding their niche.
Hmm.
Um, but we don't know if that's like is that just a thing that works good enough, or is that like the best way that seems to work?
So they're the incumbent, and the way that I kind of think about them as far as how are they structured is that I call it like the Apple effect. All right. If you own an iPhone, owning the iPhone makes you want to own all Apple products from there forward
Ecosystem
because they all work together so well. All right. And they work so poorly with everything else. That
on
is
purpose.
on purpose. That is D&D's great advantage. One,
Yeah.
that when you want to play a tabletop role-playing game, it is easier to find someone who plays D&D.
Yes.
Onboarding to any TTRPG is really difficult. It's like teaching
Mhm.
them how to learn a software from scratch. Oh, you've been
Yeah.
using Excel. Well, this time you're going to use something that's a bit different. It's not even as easy as like, oh, go from Google Docs to Microsoft Word. It's
Mhm.
much more difficult. All right. And so they have that incumbency that makes it easier to just find people to play with, which is huge.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
second thing is that they have tools at their disposal, like
Mhm.
D&D Beyond, like Roll20. The community has built up so much content around
Yeah.
it that it is impossible to compete, without
Yeah.
insane amount
This.
of overhead funding that you're
Mhm.
just not going to be able to find because there's nobody who's going to be like, oh yeah, well we'll bet on this idea that
Yeah.
structuring of a TTRPG is better than everyone else's, and if you just had the resources, you could get people on there. That is a
Yes.
super long shot. So to me, so those are the advantages they have. Now they also have disadvantages. One,
Yes.
their consumer group is extremely intelligent. They are extremely aware. The initial onboarders don't know any better, but they quickly become educated because the people bringing them on are all veterans who can explain it to them.
Yes.
All right. That's the weakness is that as they've gone and gotten bought by Hasbro, as they brought on someone
Mhm.
who specializes in microtransactions, all right, they have continue to commoditize and devalue the product
Yeah.
over all these other opportunities and money grubbiness. All right. And you see the same thing happening in Magic the Gathering. I do believe that there is opportunity to disrupt. All right. I think that it's going to take, however, 5 to 10 years. All right. 2, they need to not correct ship. If they correct course, all right, then it might all be for naught. And this is something you can see in like Facebook, Instagram, where is Snapchat? Well, they just did that. TikTok, Reels, and YouTube Shorts. All right. They just took that. Whatever disruptor comes along, if D&D remains agile enough, if Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro remains on top of their game enough, even if they're 2 to 3 years late, adapting whatever's working, if they adapt it, their incumbency will make them win by default. All right. So that's the biggest risk for someone coming in to disrupt them. So anyone coming in to disrupt them, here's in my mind what they would need.
Okay.
1, they need backup plans. They need alternative resources. Okay. Because it's not guaranteed at all. 2, the way that incumbents like that generally die, all right, or get displaced or lose market share. And you've seen this through Microsoft, through IBM, and through other Adidas. You see it that 1, they get big and they get slow and they don't get agile. All right. And the world now moves faster than it's ever moved before. Consumers move faster than they ever moved before. And so does the money, which means that they could lose money faster than they've ever seen before. All right. So 1 is that they, as the incumbents, get slow. That is the greatest weakness. And if they don't get slow, that is the greatest thing that keeps them in tow. The second thing is it's a movement. All right. Is that with Nike, it was that they brought in athletes. They did something different. With a lot of them, like, for example, you think of how trading card games come on the scene now. That community aspect, having people to play with, is huge. So the best thing, treating it kind of like a tech startup would be the best thing. Think about how like Facebook started on just one college campus, and it became just that college campus's game. All right. I think that the next best thing would be like Settlers of Catan, I think, started in Silicon Valley. All right. It became the game of Silicon Valley. Once it becomes the game of one community, that becomes your advocacy group. All right.
Pillar.
Your heroes, they become your greatest advocates. They will also be very, very staunch about, they identify with the product. So whenever you change the product, you're saying something about them, and they don't like to be told something about them that they don't agree with. Look at Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay. Certain Star Wars fans that have been with them since the 70s and 80s have very strong opinions. And whenever they do anything different, all right, cast a woman in a leading role or have a black stormtrooper, they have big feelings about it.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a catch-22 there. All right. LinkedIn went through the same problem. So you have to build a community. Let's just call it California. All right. You become the biggest TTRPG in San Diego. All right. Go ahead.
So I completely agree. Building a community is one of the most important parts. What is your opinion about in-person community things versus online community things?
My projection is that, 1, we're already kind of seeing counterculture. Okay. So I think that both are going to exist. You can do both. It's probably better to, in the beginning, specialize in one. All right. Here's the example. All right. Is that Amazon's not going anywhere. All right. But because Amazon exists, the farmer's market has become a novelty. All right. It lightens people up with this sense of pride and community. People like us do things like this, is the feeling. You don't get that from Amazon. A similar thing has happened. So a great example, that's something that I did recently. I launched a solo RPG. because of how many comments I get on my TikToks of, I wish I had a group to play with. So I reached out on Twitter. I found people. We developed a solo RPG and we just released it. But an interesting thing I ran into was a group of people who were super mad at me. All right. It was a small group. And
Okay.
they were mad because I was taking away the personal aspect, the person-to-person community aspect
Well,
of
well,
D&D.
well, a solo RPG is very different from an RPG. I
Right.
myself, I don't know if I've ever played a solo RPG, maybe once.
Mhm.
But I would even make it like it's a very niche thing, and it's even like different. I would put it, um, more of like an adventure book. I mean, it's
Right.
not like an adventure book, but it's close. It's closer to that. Um,
And I get that. What I'm getting to is that so there's a group of people that feel
mhm.
so strongly about the community aspect of
Yes.
D&D. For some of them, because I kind of I immediately want to understand people. I'm not initially offended, or at least I try not to be. I try to understand the
Mhm.
perspective. And they hate online. They
Okay.
hate it with a passion. And because they can't envision D&D without a person there, without that kind of game store or basement vibe.
Yeah.
So both exist currently. Meanwhile,
Yes.
it is technically easier to get a group together if you open yourself up to the entire world of the internet.
Of
All
course.
right. It's still weird and still awkward and still hard
Well,
to schedule things out. And you got to figure out, okay, well,
yeah.
these people are not my people, you
Mhm.
know. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. That we might need more than an hour. Might have to come back on here. But so I'm very torn right now talking to you.
Yeah.
There are two really big things. There's like the general market and like large scale, and then there's like the small scale what I'm doing and like your advice for that. So I would like to talk to a bit of both, but I'm down for talking about either. Um,
Yeah. I started with I can absolutely so I'll wrap up my ideas on big scale. Okay.
okay,
Then I'll switch into small scale. So
sure.
backtracking a couple of steps. If the ultimate goal is market disruption, the good news is that your answer is niche. Okay. Is that you have to go in and build community, understanding why the reason why to diversify product and look at alternative avenues, make card games, make board games, you know, and keep exploring is because A, you never know when you're gonna find something, all right, that really works. I launched a
Yeah,
solo RPG recently, and it was about fishing. It was no combat basically.
yeah.
All right, because I'm testing, does the cozy fantasy audience in the TTRPG realm that don't have people to play with, how big and interested and
Hmm.
active is that audience? All right. So
Yeah.
you do a lot so you can test things because you're going to find something that the big people are overlooking. All right. Going so wrapping that up and going into the niche and answering your question of in persons versus digital, I think the actual answer to the question is where do your strengths lie? All right.
Okay.
Because even if there's more opportunity, let's say digitally,
Yes.
right? If your strength is person to person interaction and setting up something. For example, I know that we have a board game cafe near us, and what they've managed to do to kind of keep a regular revenue stream is they reach out to local medium to large size businesses,
Hmm.
say, bring your team here. We'll get you guys playing games. We'll get you guys having fun. We'll feed you food. We'll put alcohol in your milkshakes. All right. Everyone's going to have a really good time. It's a team building exercise. All right. And you're supporting a fellow local business. All
Yeah.
right. That's a super niche. And that's what I mean. Like, so they specialize in the in-person stuff.
Hmm.
All right. That's where their strength is in hospitality.
Yes.
However, if your strength is getting people online communication,
Yeah.
right? And showing up and making it not feel like you're staring at a computer screen, but
Yeah.
instead that you're interacting with your fellow persons,
Hmm.
have that community, but from the safety of your own home, then go
Yeah.
with that. It's all
I,
about what's your strength and passion in.
I feel like I was naturally better in person.
Mhm,
And I've been working on my online communication skills, and I
mhm.
think I've gotten pretty good. But I think to scale, obviously you can't have one game master, right? Um, And that's the crux of the issue, I think, for growing. I mean, culture, yes, gatekeeping and like game masters, like organization, right? I think those are like really big ones. Um,
So,
so go ahead.
and this is where like I think you understand this. Have ideas, feel free to throw them in the trash. Okay.
Yes.
Here's ideas to feel free to throw into the trash. So if your strength is in the in-person events, there's a lot you can do around that. For example, my strength is actually in person. All right. However, my reality of my situation is I work an 8 to 5 job plus an hour
Yeah.
commute both ways. Okay. So it's really a 7 to 6 job.
Yeah.
And I have kids. All right.
That's
And my wife is an indie author and I help her as much as I can, although it
that's
has
awesome.
less because she's doing great. All right. And I'm trying to build this business and I'm trying to help people and I'm trying to write a book. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So my reality is that I would love to be speaking to people every single day. All right.
Yes. It's not
But
gonna happen.
it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen, at least not for a good long while.
Yeah.
Right. And so my dream is to retire to be a professor, basically, so I can just yell at. All right.
Wow. Okay.
Both my teachers are parents, so it's or both my parents are teachers, so it's not that surprising.
Both of your teachers are parents.
Both my
Wow.
teachers are parents.
That's funny. You should make
Anyway,
an RPG called Both of My Teachers Are Parents. Go
anyway,
ahead.
the point being is like, so there's a lot you can do in person. Let's just play this out for a second. Let's say, where do you live, by the way?
So I live in San Lorenzo, but I go to the local Oakland game shop. It's Your Move Games, and they do a Wednesday RPG night. They're gonna move it to yes. I'm already starting doing this stuff for a while, but I want to go into other game stores. Go ahead.
Cool. So one avenue that's available to you, okay, is to just become the biggest game master in that town. All right, that anyone who goes to a game store and plays D&D will hear about you on their third visit. Okay,
That'd
because
be amazing.
just that present. All right.
I'm working on it.
Right. That's one avenue to you. I would recommend that while you're doing that, you continue to flex your digital communication skills
Mhm.
because, like you say, you're gonna need that later on. It'll also help you build your current thing. If you start a Facebook group that is D&D dash enter your city. All right. You said it quickly and I couldn't and I missed it, but that. All
Yeah.
right. Then you build that group. So the great thing about you can build it as an email list and just say, hey,
Mhm.
every time I'm doing a board game night, a D&D night, I'm gonna put it out on this email list so that everyone
Yeah.
can be aware of it. Every time you host a game, have them sign up for that email list because why the email list over the Facebook group? One, email them about the Facebook group, all right, about the Discord.
People check email more.
Email, but the email, unlike Facebook, I have almost 8,000 members in my D&D Facebook group. It does
Mhm.
not show it to 8,000 people when I post it.
Yeah.
Does no, it shows
Emails better control.
way better control. Your only risk is if you get into the spam filter, which as long as you're using it as a communicative thing properly, that's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
Mhm.
And instead of worrying about, oh, I have 8,000 people who want to hear from me, but only 200 of them are hearing from me. Now you have 80 people who you've met, and it's a matter of how many of them have an opportunity to open their email.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
that is so much more tangible. The amount of people, all right, now, and if you've looked at me at all, I'm very good at creating audiences, and I have managed to leverage them. But most people, they can have 100,000 subscribers and not make $100
Mhm.
off of their followers because it's so passive, it's
Yeah.
so busy, and they're really good at entertaining or finding a way to hack the system, but they're not really good at building community and brand, you know? And so that's where utilizing your person-person strength, by the way, when you want to get bigger, there's your launch team right there.
Yeah.
One, you've learned how to communicate with them online. You've learned, hey, invite
Yeah.
people to the group if you know someone else in town who doesn't
Yeah.
get out enough.
So
No.
I've made a decent amount of friends. I ran a bunch of home games university. Um, Tested out one shots, a bunch of hacks of stuff. I made some close friends. One of them is helping me edit videos. Another one, the school project. He's been doing like art layout, helping me with that. Um, yeah. So can I tell you about the more specific stuff
Yeah,
I have worked on and working on?
yeah, go for it.
Okay, should I send links or just talk about it?
Start by just talking about it and feel free to drop links. I do have let me pull it up real quick.
Yeah. Yes,
Scrap
yes.
I saw about table topics.
Yes, yes. Scrapped is a university project for a 10-week course. It is a class called Experimental Tabletop Role-Playing Game Design in
Which is
UC Santa
awesome.
Cruz. It is awesome. It's very new. Very excited. Um, my guy killed this. I did the mechanics for this and a lot of the brainstorming, but he really put this together really well. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna talk about it in too much detail, but it's a small, it's similar to Blades in the Dark mechanically, but the core of the mechanics revolves around the inventory.
Cool.
Yes. So that's one thing that's done. I mean, I might update it, but it's done. I have also, and I wish I had. So do you know Kids on Brooms or Kids on Bikes?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's one of my favorite game systems to hack and to run one shots of.
Mhm.
Um, I have my own hack that I'm working on that I'm fairly far into development called Kids in Caves.
Okay.
And in that one, I mean, I might change it to syllables, but you cannot say more than 6-letter words.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, if you do the tribe, if you keep doing it, the tribe will outcast you or kill you. Yeah, it's that
Fun.
kind of game. Yeah, I've recently watched Primal. It's inspired me a lot. Highly recommend the show. Um, some good caveman action there.
I know that
Um,
one. I've seen so many TikToks of it and I've wanted to watch it. I know the
it's so good, dude.
it looks really good. I'm not
It's no the guy who made it is I forgot what his first name is, but it's Tartakovsky. He also made Samurai Jack.
okay,
Same
yeah,
guy, same guy.
that makes absolute
Yeah,
sense.
and there's like no dialogue. Okay,
He
I'm
makes a
gonna
lot, but yeah,
enough shilling.
we're here to
But
talk about this here.
yeah. So, but I'm gonna work on different hacks. I'm gonna make Kids and Graves for like a Halloween one. I'm making Kids in the West, which is like a wild, weird West game. I'm gonna make other hacks of this, and the my main game I'm working on. It's gonna take a while because it's a larger game.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with like Eastern fantasy, like Chinese fantasy stuff at all?
Relatively familiar.
Okay, so you know that there's like Bruce Lee, like martial arts. It's like
Mhm.
that's like just above what's actually possible. And then there's like this other genre that's like high fantasy where you're like you're like absorbing chi and you're like trying to become immortal, basically doing techniques and like crazy power levels. That is the genre. I love this genre, and there
Okay.
are no table as far as I know, there are no tabletop role playing games for it, and I'm going to make one.
Okay. Sweet.
I'm yes.
The only thing I know that I think I saw one. I don't know if it was as high a fantasy as you're talking.
I'm
My
listening.
suggestion is to make sure that I don't remember it by name. It was probably a Kickstarter. The only thing that I would recommend is to make sure you get a sensitivity reader on board,
Yes,
which is just
of course.
practice if you're working outside of the genre you were born into.
No, of course.
You
I
know,
have I have consumed it a good amount, but I will obviously get someone
we
referencing
always
things.
we always
Yeah,
try to be respectful.
yeah. So
Here's like I'm an anime nerd, so I'm always like
yes,
I'm doing everything I can to be super
yes.
honest and on point and yada yada.
Hmm.
Still, sometimes you learn like, oh,
Yeah,
but this color of flower in there.
yeah. You don't even know what you're doing.
Right.
Like, yeah.
You
I
don't know
sent
what you're
you a
doing.
yeah. I sent you a link. This person made a hack of Blades in the Dark called Blades of the Immortal, and it's a cultivation hack. Um, yes. Um, yeah, so that's the main stuff I'm doing. I'm just like gearing up to
Mhm.
put out content. Um I have two videos recorded, one of which is like done at being edited and I need to look it over. And I hope to go crazy with shorts. Is there anything you recommend? Do you like the name Table Topics?
So I do like it. What I
Okay.
think that the two things to consider is
Okay.
one, so I put into YouTube table topics, all right, which
I
brings
know
in,
other channels come up.
yeah, there seems to be some sort of the Toastmasters table topics contest,
Yeah.
all right. that gets anywhere between 900 and 9,000 views on average. All right. It gets no more than the tens of thousands. So there's gonna be some kind of, and this is me talking from a search engine optimization perspective.
Of
There's
course.
going to be some hurdles to get over to as far as
Yes.
search goes.
Yeah.
However, my only recommendation for that is, okay, have table topics dash a TTRPG discussion or dash,
Yeah.
by what.
Um,
One
so
second, gotta mute
sure, sorry.
myself real quick. I just gotta
Yeah.
step.
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
Yes.
that's
So
one thing that came up. I like the name, and then I'll tell you just like my initial before you tell me anything about it, and I will give you an opportunity to do that.
sure. Sure.
My
There's nothing to look at yet, but sure.
consumer thought was, okay, so it's probably a like tabletop interview or like general discussion podcast.
Um, that was the original idea. I am also going to be posting like actual plays and like clips and whatnot. Because I think that is a good area for. I understand it's a very saturated market,
Mhm.
but I feel as though there's not enough people doing one shots. I looked on YouTube for a caveman actual play like show. There was one episode that popped up.
Mm.
So there's a lot. I think there's a lot of like one shots in indie games that have not been played.
Whereas everyone's done Curse of Strahd
Exactly.
versus, and this is another opportunity for you is if you are out there doing one shots, you can just ask creators who you want to work with. All right, hey, I'm doing this, and I'm building things out for this year,
Yeah.
this season, whatever. Do you want to, is there anything you'd like me to do? My general opinion, just like starting out, is just create, just go, just do. Because
Okay.
if you overthink on execution, the number one thing that you need to worry about is burnout and consistency.
Yes.
Okay. Because everybody, all right, and this is you're at that point, all right, and I get it, all right, you want to do everything. All right. This is something I have to tell myself
I
regularly.
want to try everything.
I just posted a video on this where it's I am capable of anything, but not everything.
That's true.
That has been a hard lesson to learn. I still haven't learned it completely. I continuously think I'm superhuman and put too much on my plate.
Yeah.
The point being is that what I have learned is having a bare minimum.
Hmm.
All right. You can always ramp up. It is
Yes.
harder to pull back down, and you will get it wrong. All right. So be ready for that and just recalibrate.
Hmm.
So have your my recommendation is start with bare minimum. If the bare minimum is I want to do a one-shot playthrough once a month, all right, or I want to do a one-on-one interview with a game master once a week, all right, then that's your bare minimum. Everything you do beyond that is bonus, and life will throw you curveballs. So you're gonna have to go back to your bare minimum. This
Yeah.
again, I've been doing this for a few years. This happened to me again. Okay. Life throws you curveballs. No matter how many times you get it right, new things pop up. The
Hmm.
kids staying home from summer hit different this year. All right. Staying home from school this summer, it hit different because they're older, they
Yeah.
have
Of
bigger needs, and they're more vocal about it. I started a new job. All right. Life changes around you.
course.
You have to adapt to it. So that's where I'm like, I see all the things you're wanting to do. You're collaborating on a bunch,
Yes.
you're creating the kids on
So.
in caves and bikes. And so
Mhm.
when you're looking at content creation, the answer to marketing is almost always more.
Yes.
So you have to answer the question of how much can you give?
I'm writing that down. I've been writing a bunch of stuff down, but so I have a bunch of questions off of
Yep.
that. So first of all, in some of the social medias, I wasn't able to get table topics, so I grabbed table topics RPG. Do you
Yep.
think that's good? Do you think it's better, or should I?
Yes. No, that's table topics, RPG, TT topics, tabletop topics, finding
Hmm.
as good a real variations as you can get works. All right. The
Okay.
next best thing, okay, is to just name it yourself. Okay, like after you. Okay. This
Yeah.
doesn't work if you ever plan to sell it. All right.
I don't think I will, honestly.
That is just a you call where it has to
Yeah. I'm not even thinking about that right now,
right.
if I'm being honest.
So
Um,
one reason to name it your as you and
mhm.
put your face on it, all right,
Yes.
is that it's better for branding. All
Okay.
right. There's a higher level of trust because your face is on it, your name is on it.
Yeah.
Right? And so I put myself as Zack Applewhite, usually a bar D&D something, okay,
Yeah.
or I put myself as Applewhite Games, but my last name Applewhite is always in there.
Yeah.
This means that if you run into me on TikTok, you might have already run into me on Facebook or on Twitter or on YouTube Shorts.
Hmm.
You know kind of what you're going to get. You know that they're connected versus if you run into table topics versus real table topics versus table topics RPG, it could become a little more confusing. You can get over that.
Yeah.
All right, you can get over that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You'll make it happen because they'll look at the logo, keep the logo consistent. You
Yeah.
solve most of that problem. The other reason to do it is that you might pivot as a person.
Yeah.
So one of the examples is that when I was in high school, I created Anime Couples, the YouTube channel. All
Okay.
right, got like 29 million views. I
Whoa.
made $0 because of three reasons. One, I was using pictures that weren't my own. I was using music that wasn't my own. And lastly, I never put my face in a video. All right. I was making anime couple AMVs because I was a lonely high school kid. All right. And the thing that I missed out on in that moment that I can look back at and just help people educate themselves on is that if I were to do that over again, I would call it Zack Applewhite Anime Couples by Zack Applewhite. I think I went back and
Yeah.
named it that at some point after I'd already dropped it because I met my wife and I wasn't lonely anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and I would have ended every video with my face and said, "Hey, thanks for watching. Come back,
Hmm.
follow me, subscribe me. I'm Zack Applewhite," because I could build brand off of that. Now, because I left it as just a fun thing that I was doing, I missed out on that opportunity. That's just kind of like illustrations of put your name on everything,
Yeah.
and it'll be easier for you because you're doing on camera stuff,
Yeah.
but as you're thinking of naming things, I did not feel that I could repurpose anime couples
Okay.
because it's about anime couples.
Yeah. I'm
So
just
when I
worried
wanted
about a
to do
longer
anime
title.
reviews, when I wanted to do anime reviews, I had a problem. When I switched over to D&D, I had a problem. So
Right.
that's just another like kind of vulnerability you have to get ready for,
Of course.
as you're
I'm
building
pigeonholing myself more is what
topics.
you're saying. And I'm not connecting myself in as much as I could be.
It's something to consider. All right. It is
Yeah.
a good call because if you're 100% on tabletop, it's also if you ever wanted to exit, if you said, you know what I'm actually interested in is candle making. All right. And
Hell no.
this is my passion forever. And I want to diverge from table topics and all the stuff I built in the tabletop industry. And it becomes a lot freaking easier if your name's not on everything as much as I put my name on everything.
Yeah.
You
You're
can just,
invested.
whereas if you sell, like look at how much Apple struggled after Steve Jobs left.
Yeah.
It might as
So
well have been named Steve Jobs.
yeah, Steve Jobs' phone.
Right.
So should I? So I mean, what are you suggesting I do? Because I don't want to be Alex Pravdin Table Topics or Table Topics Alex or Pravdin. Like I feel like that's too long of a title. I don't know.
So again, this is where I kind of give it to you. The two things I would consider is either A, just go complete, have a central name, definitely. Because as you're doing kids on
Yeah.
bike stuff, as you're doing all this other stuff, all right, you want to kind of at least a studio name.
Sure.
Okay. Having a studio name, so we just had to switch from Applewhite Games to Applewhite Publishing.
Okay.
All right, because we started doing books that had nothing to do with games. I
I
helped
see.
with that. All right. So giving yourself something that isn't so restrictive is probably my advice here. And I'm suggesting
Yeah.
because that's the least restrictive way you can go. But if you just table topics, You can talk anything in the tabletop industry.
Yeah,
Okay. So
that's pretty broad.
that is reasonably broad. If you ever
Yeah,
want to go out of the tabletop industry, you either have to go through a massive rebrand
or
or
new
you have to
channel.
create a new brand,
Yeah,
you know. So as long as you're doing that, as long as if you're helping collaborate with someone on a project and they're putting you in the name, is table topics, designs, or whatever,
yeah,
and then pop your name at the end, at the byline of who helped create this. All
yeah.
right. That's the kind of thing just kind of keep in mind, you know. But in general, yeah, I like the name.
Okay. How much can you give is a very interesting question. I like it.
That is it's an art form, okay? And it changes. So for example, when I was in your seat, all right, I probably thought I could give less than I currently do now. All right. Having a family and a full-time job gave me such a limited time that I actually became so much more productive in everything I do.
That's awesome.
Okay. It's kind of like you go to the McDonald's menu, and if you're looking at it as someone who's never been to McDonald's before, you
Yeah.
have, I forget that you would know maybe what I'm talking about here, but the kind of over choice of it, you get
You,
overburdened by the options.
analysis paralysis.
Thank you. Analysis paralysis. That happened to me when I was around your age. I was just kind of dicking around. Like, I'm an anime guy. No, never mind, I'm a poet, and I did books of poetry.
Yeah.
And because I didn't have a structure for myself and I didn't know how to
Yes.
create a structure. No one told me to create a
Of
structure.
course.
I was dicking around.
Well,
So the
so
biggest thing when
so
you're trying to ask, I'll finish this up and I'll pass it to you. The biggest thing when you're trying to ask, how much can you give, is start by building a structure, is knowing what you have right now. How many hours are you spending on anime, video games, gaming, because just knowing where you are will help you carve out the time that you are willing to give.
yeah.
And it will help you realize, okay, now I have a job that demands more of me. I need to carve out more time somewhere else,
Yeah.
you know.
I I think a big part
So,
is like managing your expectations. Like I I am very confident that I will succeed. I don't know how long that will take. I don't know what the success will look like.
mhm,
But I have faith in myself. I've seen people have a great time on my table.
yep,
And the first game I recorded, and so like the games I've been recording have been paid games I've been running on Start Playing Games. But I could also record games with my friends. I plan on recording games in person, not just online, and I have a lot of things I can improve on. Um, I I think I my main strength I think is as a game, really maybe
oh, you
as a
cut
game
out there for a second. Just go
so
back. Your main strength start over.
game as a game master. And
Gotcha.
then like Brendan Lee Milligan is a big role model of mine.
Mhm,
And I would love to do anything with him one day. I would love like he is one of my goals. He's one of my main goals.
I get that.
Yeah.
The So, and I don't want to go too far off script because I know you have a lot you want to talk about. All right.
Go.
So, but generally speaking, I think that the answer is right now, just create
Yes. Oh,
and find your limits. Go ahead.
okay. So, like I said, I have one video ready, another one working. Do you think, because I feel like I need to have 3 or 5 videos ready and
Mhm.
to post at once when I first launch a channel. Do you think that's bullshit? Should I just post?
I so here's the thing that I would say to that. It's really a matter of comfort and that is a purely what you're comfortable with question. Because here's the thing. If you talk to someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, all right, if you listen to him, all right, he'll tell you that you need to go balls to the wall for a second, because if you have a library, then you'll lean on it and you'll never create anything more. That's great for lazy people.
But it's making an assumption about the person
It
taking
does.
advice.
Exactly. That's great for lazy people. You seem to me like a motivated person.
A lot of people say I'm lazy, but that's supposed to be with my family because they don't see this as work.
Here's the thing. Everyone told my wife she was lazy. She's lazy when it comes to doing the dishes.
Yeah, shit you don't want to do.
When it comes to writing her books, she is a machine.
Yeah,
She's going to be putting out 2 books a year at one point.
that's
All right.
nuts.
That is nuts. Now she does it,
Yeah,
by the way, she does backlog it because that's what you have to with books. You have to write it and it's garbage when you first write it. So you have to edit it and edit it and edit it. While you're in the editing process, you can write another book.
Yeah.
You know? So she just does that so that she can go off and on. Because if you spend too much time in one book all at once, you get too far in the box and you can't think outside of it.
Yeah.
So the point being there is that you have so much that you're trying to create. Building out the first 4 or 5 videos, figuring out your system with no pressure on you. If that's the way you want to work that way.
I thrive under pressure though, but
Okay.
I worry that I will break.
Don't worry, the pressure will come. 2, don't
I
worry,
know.
breaks will come. Okay. You're gonna fail yourself. That's the hardest part. Okay. The thing to do, all right, it's kind of like, and I did powerlifting. It's kind of like lifting to failure. Okay. Lifting to failure and real failure being you cannot go further. Okay. Not this is really hard. Okay.
Yeah.
It is someone is spotting you because you're going to need it. Okay. Going to failure makes you stronger than every other workout system. Okay. If you're just looking to get bulk, all right. If you're just looking to get more muscle, going to failure does it. However, it sucks more than any other workout system. 1, failing doesn't feel good. 2,
Yeah.
hurts. 3, recovery hurts.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
It's not the most sustainable way to do it.
the only way to build muscle is to break it down a lot. That means
Yeah.
it hurts more when you recover. It
Yeah.
hurts more when you're doing it. So that's a know yourself kind of thing. I've fallen down and picked myself up enough to not fear the failure. All right. Because I've built thick skin. I know I can get back up again. You need to kind of do a self-analysis on how far am I willing to fall and get back up, you know, in a
Very
reasonable
far.
amount of time. So that's kind of like building your diving board there of like,
Yeah.
all right, how much pain can I tolerate? All right.
Where's
If
this pain coming from? Give me an example.
was what?
Give me an example of where this pain is coming from or what type of pain this is.
Okay. So,
Please.
okay, a good example. So I just did the solo RPG and I always do them as micros. All right. And I do them as micros for several reasons.
Yeah.
One, is that it kind of guarantees funding at a certain point, and so that you can go through the creation process. All right. 2, it takes a lot of pressure off. It's less painful. All right. I am afraid when I shoot further of failing because of all the work that I put into it feels wasted.
Of course.
All right. And my time is so limited. Okay. That
I meant,
waste is the thing I'm most afraid of.
yeah.
Looking like an idiot, I do that every day. Wasting my own time, that's
That's the worst.
you know. So that's an example of like knowing what you're capable of failing. Now that being said, on a couple of occasions, I do go balls to the wall and I risk it. All right, with my wife's books, it's all right. The goal's 1,000, but we're shooting for 5. All right, you know, funding goal wise, and we hit it. All right.
Nice.
And I'm
Congrats.
able to do that, by the way, because in my micro system, we had built up and successfully sold to an audience
Yeah.
times already. Okay.
You've done it.
So it's kind of like when I say diving board, it's like you're jumping off, and I don't know how high diving boards are. Well, let's say a 2-story diving board, 1-story
Okay.
diving board. Okay.
Sure, sure.
You do that enough times, you get comfortable with it, you're ready for the bigger leap.
Yes.
That's how I operate. All right. That's not
Okay.
some people just gotta feel the rush.
Sure.
And
So,
they don't want to work their way up.
okay. So it's a personal question whether I should have a backlog and have 3 to 5 videos before I post, or just post whatever I have now and worry about it, and then just start going.
There is no wrong answer there. The wrong answer is to do what doesn't feel right. All right.
I like that.
The right answer is to do what feels right. Know that you'll fail eventually.
Of course.
If it's this, it's this. All
Yeah.
right. What's my best way of coming up with these kind of answers is just ask yourself what's the worst case scenario.
Well, I need to ask I need to ask my friend who edits my videos to see what he's comfortable with too. Because if not, I'll have to take on more editing. But and then for shorts, what do you recommend for cranking those out and like all that stuff?
Yeah. So one,
TikTok.
I'll just say, speaking from a platform standpoint, the Facebook is probably the best place for just random, I don't have an audience discovery. All right. Facebook Reels, not Instagram Reels. Here's the difference. If you post to Instagram and say, oh, it'll share to Facebook, all right, doesn't work as well, in my experience. If you post your short to Facebook, right, your Facebook page or group as a reel, it'll automatically share into Instagram, by the way.
Yeah.
But for some reason that I don't know because I didn't build its algorithm, that has a higher chance of virality.
When you post,
When
say
you
that.
post directly on the Facebook page. All right.
Yeah.
Recommendations, by the way, treat it like YouTube. So what I've done is I did a bunch of TikToks, which by the way started with me just reading my own tweets.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of fear around TikTok, I have started taking everything from TikTok and putting it over to YouTube. I do a basic YouTube SEO titling where it's just like the title and then bar, and then I put D&D TikTok shorts so that I can kind of show up in searches for D&D shorts or D&D TikTok. Okay. And that helps like a little bit. It's starting to become 20% of my traffic is just being found on D&D TikToks because I've kind of leveled out on YouTube. It's not pushing me past 500 views. Don't worry, those humps happen. I'll get over them. So will you. All right. But Facebook is a wild card. Facebook is what TikTok was a year ago. All right. Where TikTok kind of still does this, but there's a lot more fear on TikTok. Is it going to be here a year from now, 2 years from now? I know Facebook will be here 2 years from now. All right. 2 is that TikTok's platform has gotten worse. There's more ads and it's more glitchy. All right. They are pushing TikTok Shop too hard. So there's a deterioration. All right. Okay. So the number one pick is Facebook. Okay. Second, for me, is TikTok because the virality there is still worth it. Okay. And third is YouTube. All right. The question for you is, what do you like creating in? And the other thing is just chop up what you have, post it, learn, generally speaking, put the main thing in the title, have apt hashtags, go as hard as you want on hashtags for TikTok and YouTube, but not and Facebook if you're posting in the reels, just not if you're posting in the feed as a regular video. If you're posting in a reels, same hashtags. I literally take copy and paste the same thing from YouTube to Facebook. No changes. All right. And it performs. So also don't overthink it. Find what works for you. Find a kind of template that you like. Adjust as you go, but don't try and do something new and innovative every time.
Yeah, because that's exhausting and not,
it's exhausting and you got other things to worry about.
Yeah, because my plan was to just try as many things as possible and something will work, I mean, eventually.
Pick one. Here's the thing about, and you can go back and I've done a content distribution seminar. All right.
I will watch that.
I think you'll enjoy it. Basically, start with one core, build from there. Your core is probably going to be long form YouTube videos. So go to YouTube Shorts. You're already there. Start there. And then once you've kind of figured that out, if you have more capacity already available, go straight from YouTube Shorts to Facebook. Because that's your next best opportunity.
YouTube, Facebook, TikTok.
Yeah. If after you put it on Facebook, you're like, well, this is easy and it would only take me 10 extra minutes each time I post to put it on TikTok too. Go ahead and do TikTok.
Yeah.
And then just let it happen because by the way, you're going to get nothing for a while.
Of course.
And that's just, of course, a little discovery will happen. You'll learn things. And that's why you just kind of want to just keep creating, build a system for the distribution, and then just run that system. Don't overthink. The learning will happen naturally.
Sounds good. I want to check in something really briefly. So what do you think about the new D&D that is coming out, and what do you think about D&D like giving money to YouTubers for like showing off certain things?
So
morals, marketing.
It's all about morals. So if you don't agree with it, don't do it. You know, I don't feel bad. So I don't have any animosity towards someone who decides to work with Wizards of the Coast slash Hasbro to push the new D&D book. Okay. I'm going to assume that they actually believe in it. Okay. And that they're not selling their soul. All right.
Well, would it be okay to say, hey, okay, I will take this corporation's money,
Yeah.
and my fans know better. They're not going to do much with this. Is that okay or not?
The thing I would actually worry about is less about the corporation's money and more about the social currency.
Yeah.
If your fans don't, especially if you're looking to bring in new people, that might be their first impression of you,
Yeah.
you know? And that's the thing to worry about is that, and because you're mostly online for the new people, they have nothing else to base you off of, you know? So if that's not how you want new people to see you, then don't do it.
Yeah, I would never do it. I'm just curious what you think about the phenomenon of people doing that and of D&D's tactic of doing so.
I think the D&D is smart to do it. All
Yeah,
right. And I think that the people doing it, generally speaking, most of them are just trying to make money,
of course.
you know? And if that's what they believe in, I'm going to assume that that's what they believe in. And I'll make my judgments about them based on that. Generally speaking, I'm just like, okay, that's what you're into. I'll probably look at the book. I might buy the book so that I can understand it. And if I like it, I'll play it. I give everything a fair chance, you know?
Yeah.
And there's also a certain amount of like, well, if my friends all start playing it, truth be told, I'm going to start playing it because all
Yes.
my friends are playing it and I want to play with my friends.
So,
Yeah.
okay, I this is a thing I thought about a while ago. It's basically like if more people like get into D&D, right? Because D&D is usually a gateway drug for other RPGs.
Yep.
But I feel as though that further solidifies their near monopoly. Um,
It
like,
does.
y-
They're,
yeah,
they're the leaders. All
yeah,
right. And you know, the good news is that they keep fucking up.
yeah.
Okay.
It's true. They
And
continuously
every
fuck
time
up.
they do, people who have been in there for 2, 5, 10 years immediately already know, like, okay, well, let's go check out what Pathfinder 2E is about.
Yeah,
Oh, I played Call of Cthulhu once. Maybe I should do more of that.
yeah,
You know, the problem again is that until those bigger players start building out really good onboarding systems,
yes,
okay, everyone overcomplicates. And by the way, like I played the Call of Cthulhu pre-written material, it's not great. All right, that comes out of Call of Cthulhu. It's confusing, and they
okay,
write some unwinnable encounters. That's no good for a new person. D&D sucks at this too. They created that box set for like brand new dungeon masters. All right, it was
yeah,
complicated, required an insane amount of reading. That's
yeah,
not good onboarding. You need 3 sheets or less
yeah,
boarding. If that's your new dungeon master, 3 sheets or less.
yes.
You know, 1 sheet preferred.
Do you think that's one of the main issues with this industry or this hobby is that it takes a lot of investment and time and energy to even get into this in the first place and to
Thing
stick with
is
it?
that it doesn't have to. I've onboarded a lot of people. I take first of all, I don't play D&D with them. I play imagination with them. Okay. The way that I
Yes.
onboard people is and there's those video circulating of the guy from walking. He was a
Oh, Jason Orenthal. Yeah.
yep, he
The
did this
Punisher.
very yes, the Punisher. Very similar to the way I do things where I'm like, okay, we're all on a camping trip.
I watched
Up
that.
a hill, there's a bear.
You have a
Oh,
bow.
you have a backpack on. Okay, they start asking questions. Oh, do
So
I can I scare it with can of beans? Can I hug
how
it?
far away?
Push myself up against the wall. How far away is it? Does it look intimidating? I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Roll intimidation check. Roll animal handling. You know, here's I do a D20. If I don't have a D20, I have them guess numbers between 1 and 10.
Yes.
If I have a deck of cards, draw from a deck of cards. All right.
Yes.
That that, by the way, makes it easy to onboard into any system. But
Yes.
generally speaking, I take them straight from there to D&D Beyond, and I create a character with them.
Yeah.
All right, now you pick a class. Here's basic classes. Do you want to, and I ask them, do you want to be more punchy? Do you want to be more tricky? Do you want to have a lot of fun? Like what's your definition of fun? And I
Yeah.
walk them through. And because D&D Beyond is so easy to use,
Yes.
right? And I can walk them through in 20 minutes, not hours. All right.
Minutes.
Then they have a character sheet and I can start playing them right away with actually good material that I built. You know,
Yeah.
the good news is that can be replicated
Yeah.
with anybody.
It's not special.
People suck at it. So for example, with Pathfinder, all right, their shields and stuff they break down. It's more realistic. It's less fun.
Yeah.
It's less
Did
fun
you
and it's annoying.
have you seen like I mean there's a bunch of third-party websites, even more now probably, that can make Pathfinder characters, right?
And I'm sure there are. And that's the thing of like the thing that I think that if there's a vulnerability in the onboarding process for TTRPGs that isn't just a technology issue,
Yeah.
it should take 20 minutes. All right. Build it like you're building it for children. Okay. Because they're all children.
Mhm.
You need to create the shortest distance between start and fun. All right. And that is what pretty much all of them suck at. All
Okay.
right. And when they write materials, they do this weird mix of over explaining what a house looks like and also completely missing major, well, like obviously they're going to
They
want
missed the mark.
this. They miss the mark so much. So the two options you have there are either, well, try to explore every avenue and over explain, or make it more sandboxy. So I'm on the side of make it more
I
sandboxy,
agree completely.
you know.
I'm an improv GM, first of all,
Right.
pretty much.
And so that's, I forgot what your question was, but that's my answer.
It's okay. I forgot what my question was too.
Yeah. We are gonna have to look at wrapping up here. So let's
Of
call it
course.
10 minutes. All
Sure.
right. What else is on your mind for 10 minutes?
Great question. Shit, man. I wish I made
I
more
know
list of questions.
analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis. Just a lot of things in my head right now. I I will talk to my people. I want to do stuff. I just want to, yeah. Um, man, managing expectations. So I'll do some in-person stuff. I'll do some online stuff. I'll try not to burn out. How do you, because I know you said like doing a lot of like stuff has given you less free time, which has made you use that much more effectively, right?
Yep.
I'm not sure if I'm there. I feel as though I'm helping my family out and helping other people out with stuff. And then all my other time is spent either resting from that or going into this.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm not sure, like, I wish I had more time to devote to for this. And I wish I had like, how do you find other people to like go along with you, like either creatively, could just like keep you on the right track? Um, yeah,
Number one is that you're your greatest accountability coach. So, and I've seen this with my wife, who was in that creator frenzy that we get into. Okay,
yeah,
we want to be doing it all the time. This leads to a sporadic period
burnout.
and then eventually burnout. Yes. My first suggestion is write down your average daily schedule. All right. Treat it like an exercise routine. Pick a time to sit at your desk and work on something.
Okay.
List out the projects you're working on because that'll create a natural flow chart. All
Mhm.
right. So that you can say, okay, well, I want to find people to collaborate with on here. I want to flesh out the items list on that Kids on Cave section. Da 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 da. You have like
Yeah.
10 things you're working on. You'll pick one. You'll immediately gravitate towards something. You
Mhm.
know, and that'll start naturally building what you're focusing in on. The reason to do this is two reasons. One, do it even if all you do is stare at that desk. Okay, put
Okay.
your phone in a drawer. Do it even if all you do is look at the screen, because you need to build the muscle,
Mhm.
right? Because you need that bare minimum. All right, because it's gonna be worth your time, and eventually, if you don't start creating right away, you will within the seventh try, within a week. All right.
Yeah.
You'll be so if you, even if you just can't get to create. And this is also great because you'll hit slumps. This keeps you out of the slump. All right. because you won't hold that slump for more than a week and a half. Because that's about as much as you can take of staring at a computer screen for an hour a day with nothing to do. Okay.
Yeah, you're forcing it. Yeah.
Yes, you're forcing it. It's like literally drive to the gym and sit in there if your goal is to work out more. Eventually, you'll feel
Yeah.
so stupid sitting in a gym and not lifting anything that you'll go start lifting things, and then you'll get back. You'll like, why? What was I struggling with? You get right back in the rhythm. You know, that's how, because we're all going to hit slumps. Life's going to throw us curveballs. That will also start to build out your structure that you need for yourself.
Yeah.
And by the way, I do this probably quarterly, just reanalyzing where am I, because, and I do this also before I launch any major projects, because I launch Kickstarters, they completely disrupt me.
Yeah.
They throw my life completely out of whack. The entirety of the pre-launch, the launch, the running of the campaign, and the closing of the campaign.
Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes a month and a half, completely out of whack. And if I haven't written down what normal was, it's harder to get back there.
You need to know what your baseline is.
You got to know what your baseline is. And if you
Okay.
don't know what your baseline is, you've suddenly forgotten how it works. You go back to life knowing
Yeah.
is not checking a
But
Kickstarter every 14 minutes life.
so baseline is in like, oh, how many on average, how many hours a day am I working on stuff?
Yeah. And it also like I did this for I felt like I didn't have any time to relax. So I
Yeah.
started tracking, all right, how many episodes of anime do I actually watch over the weekend? Turns out I'm
Yeah.
watching like 6. It's like, okay, shut up, Zach. You have
Yeah.
viable data
Yeah.
that you
Maybe
actually watch a
maybe
half
take
a
a
dozen
nap.
anime.
Maybe take a nap instead of watching anime. I don't know.
Right. It's
Or
like
yeah.
you got to hold yourself, it helps you hold yourself accountable,
Yeah.
on paper, and whether or not you've clocked in.
Yeah.
So the answer to that being is that, like, I know it's also good to bring people in
Hmm.
and check in on each other. I just collaborated with 3 guys. We kind of made sure that each other, if one of us was kind of falling off into real life, one of the other two would be like, "Hey, how's this going?" And it would
Yeah.
bring you back. So that's good. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, what works best and long term is being a
You're
grown up about it. Write
yeah.
it
I'm
down.
learning that.
It
I'm still
feels
learning
so
that.
stupid and elementary. I hate it too. It's also so uncreative, you know.
Yeah.
But
Everything you're saying is simple, but the
yeah,
execution of it is not easy.
creatives without structure eventually catch fire. All right.
Yeah.
You give
That's true.
creatives the right amount of structure, they're unstoppable.
You're so right.
So that's what,
Um,
like, it's a hard balance. It never gets easier, and we all come from
mm,
a place of school and society that tries to overstructure us. And
that's true.
the instinct for creative is to break every piece of structure around you and
Yeah.
make something new out of it. Is like, look at all this material. I just need to burn it all down first. The answer is actually a balance in between. It is some
Yeah.
structure. It's giving your freedom structure.
Sustainable
Knowing when
structure.
your free time gives you more free time than trying to steal it from the world around you.
Yeah. Um, do you think I should be trying to like decrease my outside obligations to have more time for this? Or do you think that I just should like I'm feeling pressure from family to like get a job and stuff. So like should I just be like should I get a job and just do this? Like or just say, hey, no, like
Here's my answer to that. And
mhm,
it becomes a bigger economic question and personal finance question.
of course.
So I will say that in general, you're probably not going to make enough to make a living
Sure.
within the first, probably. Feel free to prove me wrong.
I'm listening.
Probably, even if you go balls to the wall, probably 5 years before
Okay.
you can make a reliable, even 20 grand a year. All right. And that is
Okay.
like you're still living with your parents at that point, right?
So I
20 grand a
I
year.
I'm probably gonna live with them either way. But
Yeah.
also, what is this thing called? Start playing games, right? So I've made a little money on this and I'm hoping to ramp that up.
Yeah.
I think that is a good way for me to like make enough money for a little bit and to also like get content. I feel like it does a lot.
Yeah. So kind of going like make that money, all right, do the side
Mhm.
hustle. I would also, so I see that you already had a Ko-fi built up. My
Yes.
my thing that I would recommend, here's what I would do. I want to tell you what I would do. Take it with the biggest grain of salt because I'm not you. Okay.
Okay.
What I would do
Yeah.
is I would get a part-time job. All right. One, because it's so much easier to make money working for someone else. Just so much easier. Two,
Yeah.
all that money can be put into the bank and never touched. That's ad money for later, for when you want to go balls to the wall on a project. You can
Yes.
use that as advertising for Facebook and try to make your money back. Use it as that's tuition for your next education. All right.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario. The other thing is that it will restrict your time in a healthy way. A part-time job is not a full-time job. A part-time job gets you away from your desk so that when you come back to your desk, you're
You're
excited to
ready.
work. You know,
Yeah.
you've been thinking, well, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
make things up. Let's say you work at
Well,
McDonald's. God, I hope you don't. But let's say
I'm not working at McDonald's.
God, I hope you don't. But let's
Thank
say
you.
after 6 hours, all right, of flipping burgers, you are gonna be so hungry to create something of actual value and interest to you.
Yeah.
You know, so a part-time job is one of those like it makes money, it gives you
Mhm.
structure, you can
So,
always quit. All right.
so I have one last question.
Yeah.
Is that I mean, I was in college for 3 years and then university for 2 years,
Mhm.
and I think I have a lot of members of my family who would be questioning me if I got a random part-time job that's not like furthering a business career that they think of.
Mhm.
Do you think like I mean, should my part-time job be like related to business? Probably like ideally, right?
I would say that the ideal part-time job for you would be something that you're either going to learn a new skill from, because they can never take skills from you. Okay.
Yeah.
So whether that's okay, I'm working part-time as an intern for this marketing agency, okay, for this business, all right, or I'm work so either skill or sector or both.
Okay.
All right. So sector being anything in games,
Uh-huh.
part-time cleaning at a board game cafe. All right. That is better than part-time cleaning at a grocery store, obviously,
Of course.
for obvious reasons. So that's where to start. Now, if that doesn't happen, because by the way, there's only so many game stores that are
Mhm.
hiring part-time workers in anywhere near anybody, okay, then the next best thing is something that is going to teach you the skills you want to learn. You want to learn how to digitally
Yeah.
communicate. All right. Have someone pay you to learn. All right. Go and look for there are a lot of people who are not willing to hire a full-time person because they don't want to pay their health insurance. All right. And don't know anything about marketing and are willing to hire the young, fresh out of college person. All right.
Yeah.
To learn how.
I'm worried if I take a job like that that's more competitive,
Mhm.
I could get sucked into it and then just lose sight of what I want.
That is where you got to know yourself and where you got to learn where to hold the line. It is easy. It became a lot easier for me to hold my own lines because I know exactly what you're talking about. All right. That happened to me when I worked in the food industry. They reeled me in and I gave too much of myself. They tried it really hard when I was working for a marketing agency. All right. To pull me in and give me, because I'm a high performer and they want more of that, whether or not they pay me more for it. They want me to perform as high and
Of
as
course.
possible. All right. Even if I'm 7x what everyone else is performing, they want me to do more rather than make everyone else better because that's just easier for them. It only became easier for me because I had a wife and kids. My wife was able to tell me, like, honey, you're working too
Yeah.
much. Stop. So
Yeah.
you don't have that. If you don't have, and in fact, you probably have the opposite because you're probably gonna have your parents telling you they want you to work more. Do that. You know,
Which is like dangerous, you know?
right?
Like I will be unhappy doing this. I know
And
this.
so here's where like I give it to you. Either A, then this is again how I would do it. Take it with a big grain of salt. Either A, get a part-time job and write down this is 20 hours, and if it ever becomes more, it's not for me anymore. Because you can
Mhm.
find other part-time jobs are everywhere right now.
Yes.
Okay. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. You can go get another one. You can go drive for Uber. You have options, buddy. All right. When it comes to just part-time labor. All right. That's option number one is to just go into it and have restrictions and you're servicing some of those needs while also giving yourself a break from creativity so that when you come to creativity time, you're rearing.
Yeah.
That's the benefit of it. The second option to me is to say, give yourself in 2 years, here's what I need to have accomplished in order to keep giving my whole self to this. All right. You don't get a full-time job, but you say in 2 years, I need to be making X amount of money a month. All right. It's a kind of see if it has legs test. All
Yeah.
right. The most of the people that do this, the guy, Jim from The Office, I think it was. All right. He originally, I don't remember, it was law or something. He got a degree. All right. But in that senior year, he took a theater credit, fell in love, and was like, hey, I know, Mom, I just graduated, but I'm going to go to California. Right. Or no, it was New York. It was New York. I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to be an actor. And this guy with something like a law degree. And his mom was a very nice person and said, okay, you have, I think it was like 2.5, 3 years. And if you haven't gotten a lick, if you haven't like really gotten a foot under you and you feel like this is a career, you have to pull yourself out because you can't make your mom kill your dreams. You know, that's what
That's
his
reason.
mom said to him.
That's a better deal than most people get.
It's a great deal. Yeah.
I'll
And,
take that. I would take that in a heartbeat.
and by the way, the story goes is that he was 3 months out from the end of that 2 years. He calls his mom, it's October. All right. He calls his mom, he's like, Mom, this isn't working. I'm done. Come get me. Come pick me up. I'm done. I'm pulling myself out, just like we said. She says, stick it out to the new year. In November, he books the office.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, that doesn't happen to everybody.
Yeah.
Right? That's the story you get to hear about because it's a great story to hear about. Meanwhile, everyone else didn't get the office. Okay. The moral of the story to me is
Stick it out.
there's merit in giving yourself a chance, but hold yourself accountable to it. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you say, hey, for this first year out of college, let's just see if I can make 10 grand in total. In total.
I can do that easily.
All right. If you give yourself something like that, and you're like, okay, if I make 10 grand this year, I need to make 20 grand next year in total.
Yeah.
Right? And then if I can do that, let's go 20. Like you figure it out and you say, and if I don't hit 10 grand in total, all right, I get a part-time job until I do.
Okay.
You know, until I hit a year where I hit 10 grand, not counting the part-time job money. All right. It's giving yourself, and that, by the way, is just an idea. Find the balance of numbers that work for you, whether that's a part-time job or a full-time job, whether that's more college, whether that's instead of going to more college, you go to a trade school because plumbers make great money.
Yeah. My
Whether
brother-in-law's a plumber.
whether that's 10,000, 20,000, 2,000, whatever those numbers are for you, whatever
Yeah.
those parameters are for you, you got to
Mhm.
figure that out on your own. The point is that you have options, and it is really cool to be in a place in life where you can just say, I want to give my dreams a shot. That is
Yeah.
not going to come back later. Here's when it comes
The-
back, retirement. And I've
Yeah.
worked with those guys. I've helped those guys. I've talked to those guys. They're like,
Yeah.
I put in my hours. I did my time. I am breaking free of this prison, and I am raring to go at 55.
Yeah. I would like to do
55.
that at 25, not 55.
Right. So it doesn't happen for another 40 years. Okay. So
Fuck
I
that.
don't want to say rob yourself of this opportunity. Try to take advantage of this opportunity as much as you can. That might include a part-time job. It might
Yes.
not. All right. That is a you parameter. Look
Mhm.
what's on the market and see if anything interests you. Maybe you'll get in a game store. All right. And you'll realize, by the way, you might realize that you don't want to ever run a game store. Okay. You might realize that because you've been in there and you've been on the back end. Once you even volunteer
Yeah.
for this and you see the back end, once you've seen behind the Wizard of Oz screen,
Yeah. A
you
lot
see
of game store owners are very jaded and are very opinionated, obviously.
yeah.
But I mean, I would like to one day. If not me, I mean, I have a friend who I can throw him in, manage it.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
usually anti brick and mortar. You might find out that like, oh, you know what? There's a way I can incorporate farmers markets into this. You have a lot of options. The point being,
Yes.
so explore it, write it down, create different, treat it like an RPG. All right. I have 3 paths before me.
Yeah.
You know, which one do I want to roll the dice on?
Yes.
You know, and and then have the backup plan. Set those parameters and hold yourself accountable to them. If
Yeah.
I don't meet X, then Y. If I do meet X, then Z.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah.
think about like, but what I mean, you like hard deadlines, I assume, based on what you're talking about.
Generally
So,
speaking, yes.
so like for example, like okay, cool, I'm gonna go work part time at a random place. Like for example, I was considering working at. Sorry, I know you have to
Good.
go. Well, we can just
I'll
cut it.
give you
It's okay.
another. I'll give you another 10. Go.
Okay, so like there's a pizza place near my mom's house. This guy, he traveled around the world checking out different pizzas and he made his own recipe. And I think it'd be really cool if I went there and I worked there, learned his shit. Like that'd be amazing.
Great.
And I don't know how to,
There's
I mean,
nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
delivered when I started writing poems, which by the way, I ended up selling 2 books on poems. I was a pizza delivery driver.
nice.
The original title for my working title was Poems from the Pizza Guy.
I
All right.
like that.
I just couldn't write enough poems about pizza. So I changed it to the $1 poem project. And I sold
Okay,
poems for $1. All right.
nice.
But it turned out that that experience came in handy 10 years later when I was helping my wife launch her book. Because I
Wow.
had something of experience. I never went and sold it on Amazon. There was a lot I didn't know. But I could come into it with a lot more audacity, a lot more confidence that she didn't have. To say,
Yeah,
look, honey, I'm not a good poet. And people bought my shit. You're actually good at what you do.
yeah,
You know, we can at least make $500. Come on, you
yeah,
know. And so, if that sounds fun to you, if that sounds interesting to you, and by the way, you can just kind of shoot the shit with some people that you get along with. All right, and again, you get paid for it, and then you get to come home and you get to do the work you really want to do, and at least you're doing something to appease the people that are on your back.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Now, again, it's better if you're on the business side of that. It's better if it's a game store because that's in your sector or it's in your skill set.
Yes.
All right. That's better. I'll also say, by the way, that the things I've done with Kickstarter, the things I did with YouTube, the things I do with TikTok are on my resume and they helped me get my latest job.
Okay.
Okay.
That
They are
that that makes sense.
100% on my resume because
Yes.
I'm a marketing grade.
Ooh,
Work
okay.
and I work in marketing.
Resume versus portfolio. Should I do both? Because I feel as though the stuff I'm doing right now will be in a portfolio, like
Yeah.
all this shit. So it's like,
I would say
yeah,
here's the reasons I'll say resume.
okay,
One, more asking for resume than portfolio. If you're in any kind of like really creative, like they want you to be a game designer, then you go portfolio.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm interested in that as well.
Then you go portfolio. If you're applying for something like a business, a marketing, accounting, anything in finance, so on, just resume and numbers. How many? I tell them exactly. I raised $10,000 from 215 backers. All right, in this time frame, I have this many followers on
Yeah,
TikTok.
hard numbers.
Hard numbers because they don't have time to look at your. They don't barely have time to look at your resume. The
Yeah, they
amount of
don't
people
care.
like look at the bottom, the big number at the bottom, that's YouTube. That's what I did. And they go, oh, they didn't read the resume. They had a week to plan for this interview. They're busy.
Yeah,
So they're
they're
not
watching
going to look at the
TikTok.
portfolio either. You know, if it's that kind of, they don't even ask for a portfolio. So that's why resume, it's easier to give. You're going to have to walk them through it anyways.
Yeah,
It takes less work and you can change the numbers around really easily and get the point across. All
yeah.
right. And also, I would say personally, with a portfolio, I always feel like you're risking taste, that they just don't get it.
It's more subjective than
Like
resume.
it's so subjective, and they're just like, well, that's not what I'm looking for. And you're like, well, that's not all I'm
Yeah,
full of.
I've made multiple resumes. I've never made a portfolio.
Yeah. With a portfolio, to me, I've never liked them because one, they take a lot of work. Two, they never ask for them. And then three, if you show it to them, they put you in the box that you show them. They say, so if I show them funny stuff, for example, all
Then you're
right,
the funny
a lot
guy.
of funny videos. Like he's a funny guy and he could never work for a business. We're buttoned
Yeah,
up. It's like, just because this is all you've seen of me does not mean that's all I'm capable of. That's like me
yeah,
saying, oh, they only drive around everywhere. They couldn't possibly, they
yeah.
don't know how to ride a bike.
I think that's a big problem with people nowadays or in general.
Yeah. And so that's why I don't like portfolios personally. Is that they're great for ego,
Yes.
but as far as functional within the job market that I've interacted with, it has not been necessary or helpful. So, but the good thing you can go back and tell your parents that is like, hey, the good news is that cutting your teeth, getting trench knowledge of
Yeah.
actually selling things, building an audience and selling to it, that is more than everyone I graduated with had. Everyone I graduated with did not have in their back pocket, I got 29 million views on YouTube.
No one has that.
Right.
No.
And the ones that did have something close to that didn't put it on their resume because they thought it was hokey. Nope, that's interesting. That's memorable.
I mean,
So when
it's an
you say
accomplishment.
you made, I made $7,000 selling TTRPGs. I built an audience, I did the thing, and it shows that you understand a bigger picture,
Yeah.
right? And I have always found ways to connect it to whatever I was applying for.
That's good.
So it's
Well,
not a complete waste. And obviously because of your own passions, but even within the job market,
yeah.
if you do it successfully, all right, it's
Mhm.
not, it's, you know, you've done business.
Yeah.
That's
Let's
most people.
can
So let's
we
let's
could we
go ahead and get
schedule
wrap this up.
could we schedule like another time in like a month or two?
Yeah, it's gonna have to be at least a month because I'm
That's fine.
just that busy. But
That's fine.
absolutely, come back to
Yeah,
me.
we'll
I'd
talk.
I'd be really interested to see after you've had
Yeah.
to mull this over, your homework
Yeah.
is
My
to write
homework.
this shit down. Like
Okay.
I'd be
Okay.
very interested to see what happens once you've done your homework.
Next time we talk, I should have some videos out and I will hopefully have a job.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank
Thank
you. By the way, before we go, anyone who's listening, where's the number one place you'd like them to find and connect with you?
I'm big on Discord. But you can find my oh shit. Yeah, I'm on a bunch of stuff. I have a Ko-Fi, YouTube table topics, RPG. I've been posting on Instagram. I actually was really proud of myself. During
Oh,
last Gen Con, I posted a good decent amount on Instagram.
nice.
Table topics RPG.
Got it.
Yeah, it's pretty
All
cool.
right.
Yes.
Send me the links, by the way, when I put it into Spotify and YouTube. I'll put those links in the show notes.
Okay.
Sweet. All right. Well, you have a great day or
You
evening,
too.
whatever time it is where you are.
Yes, I will. I'll send you the link right now. Bye.
See you.